Welcome to another episode of Quick Express Reviews. Today we've got the Razer Kishi versus ORZLY, ORZLY Stadia Controller Mount to find out which one is the best for playing Stadia on the go. Now with the Razer Kishi, obviously it's an MFI certified controller, which means it will work with any iOS game. Because that's the Apple variant. You also have an Android variant of the controller that supports a controller. So most of the Apple Arcade games, for example, or games like GTA San Andreas or GTA Vice City and so on, Max Payne, for example. We've got some stickers. We've got the manual in the box as well, and then we've got some brackets. Now, when it comes to the phone support, this is the iPhone model, which means it supports anything from iPhone 6 through 6 Plus up to iPhone 12 and 12 Pro. Plus. Anyway, the brackets are used for the smaller iPhones. So yes, the manual only mentions the iPhone XS and the iPhone XS Max and so on, but the controller itself, when you go to the Razer own website, does actually support anything from an iPhone 6 up. Now, in order to expand the controller to fit the iPhone, you have to press these two buttons on top and button, and then it expands nicely. It doesn't feel very fiddly or anything like that. It is actually a well-built, sturdy device. Which I didn't actually know was made in partnership with GameVice, as you can see on the bottom. Because I don't know if you remember, GameVice used to do these type of controllers for the iPhone 5S, for example, or even for tablets. They did some controllers like that for iPads, which were brilliant, but they never supported L3 and R3. Now, in terms of the controller itself, I wish the R2 and L2 were a bit bigger, as you've seen with, for example, the Stadia controller. They aren't bad, but they are a bit on the short side, unfortunately. The sticks obviously are clickable, so you do get the L3 and R3. We've got the lightning port and then the lightning pass-through, which means you can charge the phone while you are gaming. The brilliant thing is the controller itself doesn't require any batteries or anything like that, so you just plug it in and that's pretty much it. It's not the easiest to fold back, as you can see. I'm struggling a bit in here. I had it for like over a week now, and it's still not the easiest. As you can see, I'm doing that during the day. Imagine that during that overnight or when they're in low light, challenging conditions. Oh, geez, come on! Yay, happy days. Right, so it's not the easiest to fold, but the controller itself is actually a bit more pocket friendly than ORZLY with the Stadia controller. Now, the controller itself doesn't weigh that much, to be honest. As you can see, it's just around, it is 160 grams. So the controller itself isn't that heavy. But obviously, if you've got a hefty iPhone 11 Pro Max, it is a bit heavier. Now, the downside of the Razer Kishi is that you have to take it out of the case every single time, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, to fit it into the controller. Obviously, it makes the whole device less bulky, and it does make sense. Based on the design, why you have to do that. But again, every single time I've got like a magnet for my car magnetic mount in the controller case, so it's probably just a matter of time from when I'm gonna lose it. Obviously, I could stick it onto the iPhone itself, but because I do change my phone usually every year, I can't be really bothered with buying a new magnet every single time. Now, with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, the controller weighs around 400 grams, 396 just to be precise, so it's not that bad, but it's not great either. But that's obviously due to the iPhone's own weight. So if you've got a smaller iPhone or a one that weighs less, obviously it's gonna weigh less. Now the controller itself with the phone is actually quite comfortable. It does, on the left hand side, it does bend a bit, but it's not something that will constantly happen. It's only when you do push it, it bends slightly. So as you can see, I'm playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and as you can see, there's not much going on in the game itself. Obviously, there's not much going on with the controller itself. It's very sturdy. Now you can see some stutter in Stadia. That's purely because my recording room, the place where I record the videos, is actually 2 rooms away from the Wi-Fi router. So it's not the best experience when I record that, but other than that, it works really well. Now the controller itself plugs in directly into the iPhone, so there's no Bluetooth or anything like that, nothing like that required to connect it. And then moving on, we've got the, how do you pronounce that? ORZLY Stadia Controller Mount. There is nothing in the box apart from the controller itself. So if you want to figure out how to assemble it, you can either watch my video or there is a QR code on the box that will lead you directly to the YouTube manual on how to assemble it. It's not rocket science. It doesn't require a lot of, you don't need an engineering degree and to assemble it, but it's pretty decent. It actually reminds me of the controller I used to use to connect my Switch to the Nintendo Nintendo Switch Pro controller. I wonder if it's made by the same company, which I did a review of back in the day, last year actually, 2020 I think it was. Right, so this is the actual Stadia, but first of all, Stadia controller. But first of all, let's have a look at how much the actual clip weighs. Obviously, it's not going to be much, and 72 grams, that's not much. But then when we put the Stadia controller in, which isn't that lightweight, the whole thing weighs around 336 grams. So nearly as much as the Kishi with the iPhone. And then we're going to put a Poco phone, Poco X3, and that is over half a kilo. So we've got 578 grams. So not the lightest of the portability devices, but it does have its own benefits over the Kishi. So let's start with adjustability. So you've got these 2 cogwheels that you can twist and you can adjust the actual mount to where you want to put the phone. It supports most of the phones. I don't think there is a single phone that wouldn't be supported by it. So it's versus Kishi. Obviously, you've got the benefit of having any phone fitting in. It doesn't matter if it's an iPhone, if it's an Android, if it's a 7.2-inch Mate X, or if it's, I don't know, something smaller than that, Poco X3, for example, but it's still quite big at 6.67 inch. But yes, it does fit any phone you'd like. However, the positioning of the phone is actually quite awkward. So it's not bad, it's not uncomfortable per se, it's just awkward because it can cover the buttons. So if you adjust it to further down, it then covers the buttons. So unless you've got the Stadia layout in your hand, in your head, not in your hand, then you might actually struggle to find out what do you have to press. And considering that Stadia has an X button somewhere else where an Xbox controller has, and somewhere else where a PlayStation controller has, and somewhere else where the Nintendo Switch Pro controller has, it's not the easiest one, but if you solely play on Stadia, obviously you can get used to it pretty fast. And as soon as you tighten everything up, it is a very sturdy experience. It's a very sturdy controller. And obviously you do get the benefit of Stadia versus controller versus the Kishi, so you do get the vibration motors, you've got really comfortable R2 and L2 buttons, you've got the full controller experience. Doesn't feel too cramped or anything like that. If you do like the controller, the Stadia controller, this is obviously the best way to play, especially that Stadia controller connects via Wi-Fi to the Stadia service. So again, no Bluetooth interruptions. You don't have to charge the mount itself. You can still, the phone is easily accessible. All the charging ports, the headphone jack and everything are really easily accessible. So if you'd like to, you can plug in a charger to both the Stadia controller and the phone itself, and it works brilliantly. And then if you want to clip it, unclip it, it's way easier. You can, as you can see, you can also keep a case on your phone. So yes, both have their own advantages and disadvantages. In my opinion, the Kishi is slightly better for portable play. So yeah, thanks for watching another episode of Quick Expert Reviews, and I'll speak to you soon, guys. Bye!